I'll never back down. I'll never back down. I'll never back down. I get up when I'm bleeding. I'll never back down.
This is the collision of common sense and comedy. This is Defenders Live.
I'll never back down. Thought I was 6 feet under. But now it's your turn to face the fire.
Now, I'm not a big fan of TSA. I mean, I understand the point of having TSA. I get what they're coming from, but it's a little much. Let's be realistic. TSA at this point has gotten to be a little bit much. The whole you can't take clippers, toenail clippers, and all these other stupid things. It's just, but they're there to protect us. So what we have to keep in mind is TSA is there to protect us. It gets annoying. It does. But you kind of have to follow the rules if you want to fly. A woman accused of assaulting 3 TSA agents because they took something from her at a checkpoint. Now, again, when you think about flying, you think about the things that you might be taking with you that you would need. If you're a smoker, I know it's frustrating. I used to do this. Sometimes you couldn't take a lighter onto a plane. I don't think you could take your e-cigarette, your vapes, or anything like that. I don't think you could take those on a plane. So when you start thinking about, well, what could they have taken from this woman that would have caused such a brouhaha? Well, it could have been toenail clippers, or it could have been, something that obviously this woman needed desperately. It's not any of those things. Spoiler alert. They took away her apple juice. Apple juice. I haven't seen anything, no video or anything like this, but I could just imagine her squalling and fighting over a little juice box like you get in school. That's what I'm thinking of. Micaiah Coleman was arrested at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport and charged with aggravated assault, 2 counts of misdemeanor assault, criminal damage, and disorderly conduct for her alleged outburst that redirected 450 passengers. This still makes me laugh. It's like the 3rd time I've read this, and it's still funny to me. The over apple juice. Quote, "This unprovoked and brazen physical attack against our employees is unacceptable." It was a quote from the TSA in a written statement. The incident happened just before 6 a.m., April 25th, 2023, so just a few days back. 2 of the 3 TSA agents were transported to a hospital after being allegedly struck and bitten by 19-year-old Coleman. Coleman started, quote-unquote, ranting and raving after her juice was confiscated, then allegedly attempted to grab the bin containing her personal items until a TSA agent pushed her away. Arizona Central also reports that Coleman is accused of having climbed on the table between her and a TSA agent after she was grabbed by the wrist by another agent to control her. Coleman then allegedly elbowed an agent in the head, giving him a concussion before other agents sat her down on the bench. Need I remind you, this is over apple juice. Coleman allegedly got up from the bench and attacked another agent by pulling her by the ponytail and striking her with what was described as quote-unquote hammer fist blows 3 to 5 times. Again, over confiscated apple juice. This must have been some good damn apple juice. Documents say that Coleman told the police that she was angry. She had to leave security to get food, only to go back through security again. Coleman also allegedly claimed that a TSA agent hung up her phone while she was talking to her mother. Later, she allegedly admitted that she did indeed attack agents, but kind of blacked out, quote unquote, over apple juice. Now, again, it's been a little bit since I've flown, but I know that you have restaurants and shops and things on this side of security. Then you go through security, and they have more on that other side. You can buy almost the same stuff. Now, they might not be exactly the same stores or restaurants or whatever, but you can kind of pick up what you need as you need it on the other side of the check-in. They do that on purpose. So that way, if you have to be there for a while, or if you're on a layover or whatever, you've got some place that you can go while you wait that's not just those boring chairs, in the terminal. Quote, "We are grateful for our committed workforce and the role they play in protecting the traveling public every day." This is from the TSA. Quote, "Unfortunately, due to the actions of this traveler, this situation resulted in injuries to 3 of our TSA officers and inconvenienced approximately 450 travelers who TSA redirected to a nearby checkpoint for security screening." Why did you have to funnel 450 people away over one idiot complaining about apple juice? But this is the world we live in, guys. This is the world we live in where, again, it's I am going to have my way right now, and to hell with who gets inconvenienced, to hell with what goes on, to the point that I will physically assault someone. I will be abusive to someone. I will, quote unquote, use hammer fist blows 3 to 5 times. I will give one of them a concussion with my elbow over apple juice. Now, I will grant you that it can be a pain if you cross through security, cross back, and have to go back again. I get that, but you're an adult, or supposed to be. You made your choice. You live with it. Boo-hoo if you're inconvenienced. I don't know where we went wrong, or what we're going, how we're going to fix this. I really don't, because at this point, the world is in for a very rude awakening. If this is the extent that we're going to have with people, it's just sad. And again, over apple juice. Apple juice. Coleman is being held on a $4,500 bond. Just to sum that whole little thing up. Over apple juice, you are now in jail, have to pay a $4,500 bond, have to show up to court. Obviously, you missed your flight. You're not going anywhere. Over apple juice. And then it goes back, she was upset. Oh, because the TSA hung up on her phone while she was talking to her mother. Well, you shouldn't have been on the phone going through security. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we kind of need to move things along. You need to be paying attention to what you're doing, what they're telling you to do, so you can get done. This is the same thing in as it is in restaurants or any other business where you're involving customer service, where they ask you to not be on the phone when you're dealing with whatever it is, paying for gas, whatever. It's common courtesy. It's politeness. Show attention to what you need to get done, and then hop off and come back and call again later. Or say, hey, Mom, hold on a second. Either I'll call you back or just hang on. I'm going through TSA. 2 minutes. Throw the thing into the little bucket. Let it go through the scanner. Ta-da, you're fine. You pick your stuff up. You put your shoes on. You put your belt on. Pick up the phone. Hey, sorry about that. Where were we? And life moves on. But no, you want to be a douche. Congratulations. I hope that you are happy with that, with how this all turned out. I hope that it was worth it for apple juice. Speaking of stupidity and asininity that apparently knows no limits, Los Angeles Councilwoman Nithya Raymond recently blamed Toyota for catalytic converter thefts from Prius cars. The councilwoman, I mean, again, just listen to this. The councilwoman from LA blamed Toyota for the catalytic converters being stolen from the Prius, or being able to be stolen from a Prius. And to top it all off, she did so after opposing a council motion targeting the crime. The West Side Current reported that that the April 11th council motion, which makes it unlawful to possess detached catalytic converters without valid documentation or other proofs verifying lawful possession, passed 8-4. I'm going to pause there for a minute. Not a lot of people may understand this. The catalytic converter of a vehicle has a lot of rare metals inside it. There's platinum, there's iridium, there's a lot of rare elements that are worth a lot of money. And when people will take and cut these things off, they will gut out the rare materials and they will go somewhere, usually to a metal recycling place or what have you, and they will turn it in and get a boatload of money, similar to what a lot of them were doing when it came to copper. They would go and, there was that stretch a couple of years ago where people were so hard up there, or so bad about doing it, they were stealing manhole covers and stuff. I don't know if any of y'all remember that. But that's why they steal catalytic converters, and it's on any vehicle. The purpose of a catalytic converter is to help with emissions. It's to help keep the exhaust a bit cleaner. That's basically what it's there for. And it's not hard. A lot of these crooks, I've seen videos, a lot of these guys can get in, get one, and get out of there in about 2 minutes if you're not quick enough. The motion also noted that nearly 8,000 catalytic converter components had been stolen across Los Angeles in 2022, a whopping 728% increase since 2018. Raymond later spoke at a recent town hall where she was defending voting no in the council motion. Quote, "In this case, I think one of the things that really infuriates me is that we have a company, whatever, Toyota, who makes the Prius, that essentially has a device on their car which is super easy to remove. It's basically the value of a MacBook, right? That is put in place, or that is put into place that is incredibly easy to access in your car, and that the thefts related to this issue have essentially all of the costs of that are given to us to bear instead of Toyota," end quote. Now, again, just the catalytic converter, as I mentioned before, helps to clean out the exhaust that is coming out of your car, okay, out of the engine. So it is part of the exhaust system, okay? It gets really hot down there. The exhaust system as a whole, front to back, can get very hot because of basically the mini explosions that your car is causing through fuel burn, okay? And she's trying to say that this piece is super easy to remove. It's under the car. Okay? It's under the car. It has to be under the car because the wind, hopefully, helps to kind of cool things down so it doesn't get so hot that it eventually causes a fire, which you can do under, I've seen old cars do that. It's been pretty funny, actually. But she's trying to blame Toyota, saying it's Toyota's fault for putting this thing in an easy place. This is kind of like if stereos were being stolen out of vehicles and saying, well, why did you put the radio in such a very obvious place that it could be stolen? A Toyota Prius sits rather low to the ground. Okay? It really isn't an easy thing to do unless you jack up the side of the car. Which, again, if you are determined enough to get it, as with any crime, a little bit of effort can make it move and get done pretty quickly. Okay? You want that catalytic converter bad enough, you're going to prepare for it. You get your little sawzall, you get your floor jack, you get a buddy or two, and you get in there, lift the car, and you can get that sucker down to a science, almost like a NASCAR pit crew. But it's Toyota's fault. It's Toyota's fault that they put this part, which, by the way, is California's fault for having on vehicles in the first place. Now, again, I'm all about taking care of the environment and to the best of our abilities. I'm very much a believing in you be good stewards of what you were given, which includes the rock that we live on. Having said that, this was all put into place. The catalytic converter and everything came and was pushed because of California with the smog and all that other jazz. That was them. And you're going to blame Toyota for having it, quote unquote, easily accessible. According to the National Review, another councilwoman, Eunice Hernandez, joined Raymond in opposing the motion. Hernandez argued that the motion would, quote, not make our city safer, end quote, and could impact Latino and Black communities. I don't understand how stuff like that can always it can be pushed back to race. I don't understand that. It's always going to have an impact on Latino and community Black. How exactly? Because if you if you actually say yes to the motion, then those are the ones that are primarily doing the crime. Is that what you're kind of hinting at? And because of that, it'd just be one more thing you're going to be getting in trouble for? I don't understand, lady. Quote, this ordinance is a costly one for the city. I'm going to pause there for a minute. You're LA. You're in California. Since when did y'all give a flying fig about how much something costs? Anyway, quote, it will lead to more cases for the city attorney. It will lead to more money spent in courts and more money spent on public defenders, end quote. That's it. That's all she said. That was her reasoning. That basically these people are going to continue doing this. It's going to keep happening, and now we're going to have to charge them for crimes. And that's going to just be difficult. We don't want to hold anyone accountable for any wrongdoing. We want to force manufacturers or what have you to adjust things because apparently people are too stupid to be able to do the right thing when they need to be or when they need to. Councilman John Lee introduced the motion, adding that he said catalytic converter thefts are, quote, unquote, hurting people. And it's a crime, quote, we are allowing and we are failing to act on. And if we don't pass this today, this is a common sense measure that simply provides law enforcement with an additional tool that will protect our communities from rampant and damaging theft, end quote. Why you wouldn't want to pass something like this because to replace a catalytic converters are not cheap. And again, I've seen it done. Hell, when I used to work on cars, I used to have to do it the same way sometimes. You have to sometimes you have to cut it from the exhaust system. In theft, it absolutely has to be because it's faster. When you have to cut it from the exhaust system, you have to start, adding pieces to the exhaust and couplers and things like that. You have to put it up in such a way to be able to make it stay in place. The more that you have to basically redesign as a mechanic underneath that car, the more you have to kind of put into place, the more expensive it's going to be. On top of the fact that catalytic converters aren't cheap. So you're going to come out to your car one day living in LA, fire that sucker up and go, wow, this is really loud. And then realize that you're going to have to dump $500 on a catalytic converter plus close to another $200 or $300 minimum just in labor and parts. And I mean extra parts like, extra exhaust fittings and piping and whatever else. It's not cheap. But no, it's Toyota's fault. It's Toyota's fault. Damn you, Toyota. How dare you? How dare you create a vehicle that is electric? Boogie, woogie, woogie. Oh, that's electric that, also, I guess you call it a hybrid. Some of them, it's a hybrid car, but it's primarily, electric and is helpful to the environment. You're not burning as much fuel and everything else. I mean, how dare you? How dare you? Putting these catalytic converters in such a place that makes it easy for someone to steal. I mean, you could always run it straight through the cab. You'd never be able to touch the damn thing, but, kiss your armrest goodbye. But who cares, right? Again, this is a problem that I've been wanting to address for a while, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it properly, but just as a brief cursory of the whole thing. There's no more accountability. We don't have accountability for anything. It's someone else's fault. It's something else's fault. It's easier to blame the tool, the manufacturer, other people in the situation. It's everyone and everything else's fault. It's not my fault. I didn't do anything. I merely acted in response to the situation that I was in. I played the cards that I was dealt. That's where we're at. There's no accountability. There's no owning up to making a mistake. It's everyone else's fault. And we're continuously, like this councilwoman, we're constantly having people, elected officials, and again, this is our fault too because we didn't properly vet these people. We've elected people who are passing laws and passing resolutions and motions and all of these other things that just help to codify that type of behavior. We're not going to hold people accountable, and we're going to make sure that things are put into place that people aren't held accountable. It's not our fault. It's the business's fault. It's Toyota's fault for making a catalytic converter so easily accessible. It's not the guy stealing it. And we can argue. I mean, each situation why somebody's stealing a catalytic converter for be a myriad reasons. It could just be that they're thieves and that's just what they do. It could be because someone has hit a low point and they can't find it. There's a whole laundry list of reasons for why somebody would do something like that. Doesn't make it right. And to sit here and to have elected officials in place that turn around and continue to allow this to go on, and then we're surprised when the next generation is coming up doesn't act like they should. They don't care. They have no accountability. They're not worried about anything. They scream and yell and act like little children, even into their 20s. Because they're not taught to be accountable. This is on us. Anyway, so much more to go. Whole nother half hour coming up. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
In today's troubled world, our USA Armed Forces stand ready to protect you, your family, and our American way of life. When veterans return to civilian life, they deserve your recognition and support. You can help put vets to work by donating your car, truck, or van to Patriotic Hearts. Your donation will directly support programs to help vets find jobs or even start their own business. Donate today for fast, free pickup of your vehicle, running or not. Operators are standing by to answer questions about making a tax-deductible vehicle donation. Find out how you can make a difference in the life of a United States veteran. Call 800-209-6482 for 24-hour response. Call 800-209-6482. 800-209-6482. That's 800-209-6482.
This is Defenders Live.
I gotta fix that switch. Anyway, it is Defenders Live. Go to doaeshow.com. Check out, not .com. God, I wish it was there. No, it's not there no more. Twitter at DOA Show. Use hashtag arm yourselves. We're also live on YouTube, which I was trying to comment on there, and for some stupid reason, it's not letting me, and I don't know why, and it makes me angry. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever, it's on. Hi, everybody. Thank you for watching. Make sure you share this around. Tell your friends, your neighbors, anybody you like, even especially if you don't like them. I'm sure this will be if you don't like them, send it because it'll drive them insane. Because I know sometimes it bugs me. So there you go. So, this is going to get fun. Sexually attracted, or people who are sexually attracted to children, let that sink in for a moment, may soon enjoy special treatment as a protected class in the state of Minnesota. The quote, or the Human Rights Bill, or Act, excuse me, is a state law prohibiting discrimination in, quote, employment, housing, public accommodations, public services, education, credit, and business, end quote, and is enforced by the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. Okay? The act presently makes it clear in subdivision 44 under 36 or 363A.03 definitions that, quote, sexual orientations does not include a physical or sexual attachment to children by an adult, end quote. Yeah. State Representative Leah Fink, who is trans, and was also named Woman of the Year by Minnesota, or for Minnesota by USA Today, has introduced HF 1655, dubbed the Take Pride Act, which was reportedly incorporated into the Judiciary Policy Omnibus Bill. Pause there for just a moment. I have a very big complaint. Omnibus bills are what is causing America, aside from our lack of due diligence when it comes to electing politicians, civil servants, omnibus bills are a death nail to our freedom, to America as we know it and understand it. When you take a bill and throw 900 different things in there, then it becomes very easy to shut the bill down. Which, from a free person's standpoint, you don't want to have a bunch of stuff going through all willy-nilly anyway, so that's a good thing. But the bad thing about that is you don't actually address situations, okay? Things get slid in under the radar because who wants to read an omnibus bill? You know, I think very well of the whole, you got to pass it to know what's inside it comes to mind. You know, that's not how this stuff should work. The state purpose of the bill is to amend the Human Rights Act, thereby, quote, creating a separate definition for gender identity, removing sections in the Human Rights Act that allow for discrimination based on sexual orientation, end quote, and making a variety of other changes to the existing law. Fink's bill specifically targets subdivision 44 and would remove the clarification that, quote unquote, sexual orientation, a protected class under the law, excludes pedophiles. You get that? We have seen repeatedly the effect that the trans trend is having on our children. We've seen, and they try shrouding it in things like, the drag shows and everything else. Like we see this time and again what's going on there, and now they're openly trying to allow pedophiles to be considered a protected class. First off, I'd like to get rid of protected classes. I really would. You're an American. That's all the protection you need. Doesn't matter your skin color, doesn't matter your sexual orientation. It shouldn't matter about any of that stuff. You are a protected class just because you're an American citizen, period. And that's where it should stay. To keep having protected classes, you have a protected class here, and a protected class here, and a protected class here, and everything has to be protected. But here's the funny part, is you can't have them all protected equally. Because they aren't. This is a protected class, but it's not the same as this protected class over here. It's not the same as this protected class over here. They're all different. It's the whole diversity and equity and inclusion crap. We all want it. We all believe diversity is a good thing. And it is. Diversity, having everybody completely different in one way or another, makes things better when we're open-minded enough to listen to what that other person is saying. You don't have to buy it hook, line, and sinker, but by God, you could at least take what they have to say or their experiences and work with it a little bit. If nothing else, become more intelligent based off that your view is not the only narrow view, that there are others out there, and maybe it'll broaden it a little bit. Diversity is a fine thing. Inclusion is an okay thing, not the way they're presenting it. Inclusion you shouldn't have to have it like this. Everyone, again, if you're an American citizen, you're included under whatever the hell it is they're talking about. Whatever law, whatever. It all falls under the same thing because you're an American citizen. That's it. Not because you're a sexual orientation, not because you identify yourself as a toaster, not because of your skin color, nothing like that. It's the fact that you are an American citizen. That's it. That should be all the protected class that you need, that we need, that the government needs. I could keep going. I'm not going to. Fink has defended his measure, suggesting that the clarification falsely insinuated a link between homosexuality and pedophilia. He told Fox News Digital that the measure, quote, updates outdated language that incorrectly ties pedophilia to a person's sexual orientation, end quote. Well, if pedophilia does not, as he claims, tie someone to their sexual orientation, if pedophilia is not a sexual orientation, then what is it? Because the only thing I know of it to be is a crime. By far one of the horrible crimes. Ones that I'm not opposed of offing and unaliving someone instantly over. When you talk about a grown, quote unquote, mature adult taking advantage of a child, I have no sympathy for you. I have none. Less than none. And if it's not a sexual orientation, then what is it? Quote, nothing in the bill changes or weakens any crimes against children or the state's ability to prosecute those who break the law. Of course, pedophilia is not a sexual orientation. The language never should have included the statutory definition in the first place. Crimes against children located in Minnesota's criminal statutes, and again, they remain unchanged. But yet you want to remove the classification. There are laws on the books concerning various crimes against children and sex crimes more generally, although it is unclear whether the unactioned pedophilia might nevertheless be interpreted to enjoy protected status as a consequence of Fink's proposal. Red State indicated that while pedophilia is not in truth a sexual orientation, that is exactly what the language says. Alpha News reported that Republicans intend to strike back with an amendment underscoring that adults who, quote, with a physical or sexual attachment to children, end quote, are not protected under Human Rights Act. House Minority Leader Lisa DeMuth, said in a statement, quote, under the Human Rights Act, the definition of sexual orientation says that sexual orientation does not include physical or sexual attraction to children by an adult, or more simply described, pedophilia. The Democrats' decision to strike this language is disturbing and inexplicable. Words are hard. She continued, House Republicans will be presenting an amendment today to clarify that pedophilia is absolutely not a protected class under the Human Rights Act. We sincerely hope Democrats will join us in ensuring our children are protected. End quote. Fink went on to suggest on Twitter this past Wednesday that the backlash over his measure was undeserved and that he is left hurt and scared. Fink, who has been endorsed by Planned Parenthood, Education Minnesota, Democratic Governor Tim Walz, and the Moms Demand Action, is a chair for the Queer Caucus. the director of the Queer Equity Institute. His institute notes that it seeks to make LGBTQ plus people, quote, a protected class in every state in the United States, end quote. However, it does not specify what group or groups of people the plus references. I'm tired of this. I really am. When did things become so quote unquote gray? When did we stop being able to tell the difference between what's right and what's wrong? I don't understand it. It didn't used to be this difficult. There was never a reason, there was never a point that I can recall in my time on this planet that people thought for a second that, oh, you know what, if you have an attraction to a child and even have engaged in said sexual actions with a child, that you should be protected. I've never seen that. I've never heard that. And I don't know how to take it. I understand. I don't understand, but I can understand as an adult, if you feel that you are not the gender that I can't say assigned because you weren't assigned it unless you count creation and everything else and everything, whatever. You don't accept the gender you were born as. As an adult, that's on you. You make the decision. I don't care. I sympathize with your situation, that whatever it is that you're dealing with is so severe. That's what you have to do. Okay? But you leave the children alone. Children who are developing, children who are learning the world right now. This is all new to them. It's not new to you. And the only reason why you go after children is because it's going to be easier to get your way and have things changed and distorted down the road. You don't believe me? Look at Twitter. Look at all the idiots that are on there from Twitter, these young kids who are spouting off stuff about, gun control and how you want us to, get ourselves killed and this, that, and the other, and women's rights and abortion's cool and You're a child. You haven't done anything. You haven't been anywhere outside of your parents' home. You don't know your ass from a hole in the ground. And you're going to sit there and tell everyone else in the world, in the country, that, oh, you know better. Then when you know what, then do what you want to do then. Go ahead. Go ahead. And when you find out that you, as these young children, have find out eventually, passing all the stuff that they want, they get the gun control that they want, they put all these things in places and blah, 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 blah. When they wake up one morning and realize that they have literally given themselves the country that they have been, quote unquote, fighting against, then what? Because you're never going to be able to go back. You're not. America once lost, true America, the freedoms that we have, the experiment that is America. Once that's gone, is gone. It doesn't come back. Because there's nowhere to start it again. We already had all these freedoms and these rights already in place, given to us by God, nature and nature's law. And you pissed them away. Do you know how hard it's going to be to get them back? It's not going to. We got them the first time over bloodshed. What do you think it's going to take to get them back the second time, if that even is how it goes? Again, protected classes need to go. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care where you grew up. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care who your mama and them is. If you're an American citizen, then you're just like the rest of the other American citizens. You are protected that way. That is it. Nothing else. Who you choose to have sex with, or who, where your skin color is, or where you grew up, or any of that other stuff doesn't make you any more special than the person next to you. And I'm tired of it. I'm fucking tired of it. And the stupidity doesn't end there. A letter from a Vermont school district to parents expressed a policy change to use, quote, gender-inclusive phrases, end quote, in place of words like boy and girl in a curriculum unit about human reproduction. I don't know how much more inclusive you can get when you're talking boy and girl, because that's all there is. You've included them all. Boy, girl. That's it. That's the only genders there are. Quote, it is time for our science and health unit about the human body focused on puberty and human reproductive systems. This unit will take place during the last month of school. That is according to a letter from the Founders Memorial School principal, Sarah Jabolski. Quote, in an effort to align our curriculum with our equity policy, teachers will be using gender-inclusive language throughout this unit. With any differences, we strive to use person-first language as best practice. End quote. The letter outlined some examples of the new politically correct language. Quote, person who produces sperm in place of boy, male, and assigned male at birth. That doesn't sound cumbersome. Person who produces sperm in place of boy, male, and assigned male at birth. Person who produces eggs in place of girl, female, or assigned female at birth. The letter said the curriculum was going to, quote, focus on the physical and emotional changes that occur during puberty, end quote, and also introduce the, quote, basic structure and function of human reproductive systems, end quote. I don't know how you're going to be able to do that, because you can't say a person that produces sperm. That's a boy. There's a reason. See, we're going backwards. You notice this? People will come up with words to make language easier. And I know that sounds stupid to say, but we picked boy and girl because that is easier to say than person who produces sperm or person who produces eggs. Boy, girl. Many were extremely critical of the new policy and called on parents to pull their kids from schools and homeschool instead. I'm all for that. Abso-daggone-lutely. Get them out, homeschool them, do it right. This is ridiculous. One response on Twitter read, quote, are you kidding me? Stop it. Stop focusing on sex, gender, focus on education. No wonder kids are confused. No wonder they lack grammar skills. No wonder they are lost. They go to school to learn. You can't learn in that word salad environment. Homeschool your kids in Vermont, end quote. Yes. And not just Vermont. I would argue it would be fantastic if everyone just did it on their own. But this is insane. How can you be educating children when all you're doing is, as this person put out there, confusing them? Because it is confusion. Just to sit here and go, well, there's so many different genders. No, there really isn't. Okay? There isn't. There's boy, there's girl, there's male and female. That's it. That is literally it. There are those two binary situations. Even if you want to break it down to what they say, there's a person that makes sperm and a person that makes eggs. Boy, girl, male, female. Okay? That's it. That's all there is. All of this crap where these people are, well, I'm non-binary. A Ken doll is non-binary. Okay? Like, you either have XY chromosome or, almost messed up, YY. Anyway, you either have the two or you have 1 and 2, like 1 and 1. Like that's it. That's all there is. There is no middle ground. There's no third option. And just because you want to make it up to for whatever reason, whether there's a mental situation, whether you have had trauma to the point that you feel that you have to escape into something else, whatever the reason is, there's only two. And if you actually pay attention, if anybody would take a moment and pay attention, even the ones these people are changing into still circles back to one of the two. It doesn't change. Children should not be worrying about sex. If you want to leave it, quote unquote, gender neutral, then the only thing that you need to turn around and do is say, children, if you have a penis, children, if you have a vagina, the two shall twine, ta-da, baby. That's it. It's simple. You don't have to focus on, well, this person likes this and this person is over here does this. No. School is about teaching the fundamentals of the basics and the facts, and that's it. And we're not doing that. We're not teaching them the facts. We're teaching them that there are no facts. We're teaching them that there's no accountability, there's no responsibility, nothing is grounded, nothing is solid. Why do you think these children are following after the trend of transgenderism in the first place? Every child from birth up until around about 18, 19, when they get ready to move away and everything else, need structure. They crave it. Whether they realize it or not, they need security. They need consistency. How the hell are they getting consistency and security when everything's changing, when everything's fluid, when it's, oh, don't worry, you can be what you want, or this person, it's all fluid, it's all what you think, it's all a fairyland. And then we wonder why society is the way it is, why people act the way they act. I'm ending the show on somewhat of a good note, I think. It's going to sound a little rough at first, but just stick with me here. A diversity officer, I know, like I said, give me a minute. A diversity officer representing Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin ruffled a lot of feathers when he spoke at a recent mandatory faculty training at the Virginia Military Academy, invoking the name of Jesus in a reverential prayer and slamming the concept of equity. Told you, this is going to get good. On April 21st, Martin D. Brown, Youngkin's administration's chief diversity, opportunity, and inclusion officer. Not equity, opportunity. Pay attention. Stood before a crowd at VMI Auditorium and stated unequivocally that the sacred cow of DEI is dead. Quote, let's take a moment right now and kill that cow. DEI is dead, Brown said. We're not going to bring that cow up anymore. It is dead. Brown took particular exception with the notion of equity, explaining that equity steers people away from laudable goals of, quote, merit or excellence or achievement, end quote. Instead, keeps them from focused on equal outcomes. I wish I had time to play this whole thing. I didn't realize that my ranting a second ago took it all it goes on so much more. People lost their minds over it. The Virginia NAACP was outraged by it because, why not? Because Brown, his speech focused on civil discourse, civility, and living the golden rule. They wanted him to resign. Just so we're clear, if I'm seeing this picture correctly, Mr. Brown is a black guy. Just saying. Thank you for hanging out with me. Appreciate it. Go to Defenders on Facebook and Twitter. We'll see y'all next week. Like, share it, everybody. We'll see you around. Bye, everyone.